Graythorn Prison slept under a storm that refused to end. Inside cell 412, Elias Ward sat still, as if carved from the same stone that held him. His eyes followed the drip of water from a crack in the ceiling, steady, merciless, like time itself. In his palm rested a folded scrap of paper. No name, no ink, only a single pressed leaf between its creases. He whispered, barely moving his lips. Some wishes were never meant to be spoken. A low thunder rolled and the leaf trembled. Then the sound of keys. Someone was coming for him. Elias had been at Graythorn for 11 years. The walls knew him better than any friend he'd ever had. Once he'd been a corrections officer here, loyal, quiet, efficient. But when the system turned on itself, it took him down too. They called it dereliction of duty. He called it a truth they refused to hear. The other inmates spoke his name like a rumor, not with hate, but with curiosity, because Elias never spoke about the night that ended his freedom. And he never opened the folded scrap of paper, the one he'd been found clutching when they arrested him. The guards called it his wish. To them, it was superstition. To him, it was the last fragment of a promise he could never explain. Outside, the rain hissed against the metal gutters. Inside, the hum of fluorescent light carved a halo above his cot. Every sound was magnified, boots on tile, locks snapping, whispers carried by vents. It was a world that survived on silence, and Elias had mastered it. But silence, like rust, eventually eats through steel. It began one morning during inspection. Guard Bellamy slid open the hatch of Elias's cell and tossed a folded note through the gap. "Found this in the chapel drop box," he muttered. "Says it's for you." Elias didn't move at first. The last time he'd received anything was 5 years ago, a returned letter, stamped "Recipient Deceased." He picked up the new note. The handwriting was careful, deliberate. A single line. "The leaf still waits for the river." Elias's breath faltered. No one alive should have known that phrase. It wasn't a message. It was a key to a memory buried under years of dust. He pressed the paper to the old folded leaf he kept hidden under his mattress. The edges matched perfectly. The pattern of the veins formed the shape of a river delta. Something inside him cracked open. That phrase had belonged to Ava Rourke, the only person who had ever seen him before the bars, the journalist who'd tried to expose the truth that night, the one who vanished before she could testify. If that message had found him now, it could only mean one thing. Someone inside Graythorn didn't want the truth buried anymore. Elias began to listen again, to the rhythm of the guards' boots, to the shuffle of envelopes sliding under doors, to the faint whir of the mailroom fan at midnight. He pieced together fragments: the chapel ledger, a missing inmate file, a whispered name in the laundry room. Rourke. But with every step, eyes started turning. One night, the lights flickered out. A warning scrawled across his cell wall in chalk. "Wishes stay buried." The next morning, the message was gone, cleaned before roll call. Bellamy looked at him longer than usual. "You're digging again, Ward. Digging's how you got here." Elias smiled faintly, though his stomach turned cold. "And burying's how others stay free." That night, he unfolded the leaf again and stared at the fragile veins. The leaf had belonged to a tree that grew outside Graythorn's walls, the same one Ava used to sit beneath when she visited. He'd made her a promise before she disappeared. "If anything happens, I'll keep your truth alive." But he hadn't. He'd let silence win. Now, 11 years later, her message had found him. The hum of the lights grew louder, the air thick with storm humidity. And somewhere beyond the bars, a file was being opened, under someone's trembling hand. A week later, during laundry duty, Elias found another note tucked into a sheetfold. This one was written in blue ink. "The river runs under the chapel floor. Follow the sound." He waited until night, when the thunder masked footsteps. He counted the seconds between lightning and silence. Then he slipped from his bunk, careful not to wake the snoring guard outside his door. The chapel was unlocked deliberately. Inside, the air smelled of old wood and damp stone. The candles had long since melted into glass cups. He stood still until he heard it faint, rhythmic, a hollow drip beneath the altar. He pushed aside the rug and found a vent panel. The screws were missing. Inside was a tin box wrapped in cloth. He opened it slowly. Inside were two things: a cassette tape and a single page from a police report. The report was Ava's The Missing Person file, marked "Closed No Further Action." Elias's throat tightened. On the tape label, "For EW, when silence is no longer safe." He slipped the tape into his pocket, his pulse racing. But as he turned, a figure appeared at the doorway. Bellamy. The guard's face was half lit by lightning. "You should have stayed quiet." The words hit like a verdict. Bellamy wasn't just a guard. He'd been the officer on duty the night Ava vanished. Elias understood then Graythorn wasn't his prison. It was his cover-up. "Where's the rest of it?" Elias whispered. Bellamy's jaw tightened. "Some wishes die with their owners." He raised his flashlight and slammed it across Elias's face. Darkness. When Elias woke, he was back in his cell, head bandaged, wrists cuffed. The leaf in both notes were gone. Bellamy visited that afternoon. "Accidents happen," he said, sliding a transfer form through the bars. "You'll be moved to solitary tomorrow. Best you forget the river." But the paper was wrong. The signature line read, "Warden H. Rourke." Ava's surname. Elias stared at it, realization blooming like a wound. Ava hadn't died. She'd become the warden, hidden behind bureaucracy, watching from above the same walls she once condemned. Every rumor he'd heard, the quiet pardons, the silenced transfers, they all pointed back to her. She'd sent the notes. She'd set the trap. And Bellamy had taken the bait. That night, the storm outside grew savage. Elias waited for the power to flicker, then pulled the hinge pin from his bed frame, something he'd filed down over years. He picked his cuff locks, slipped through the corridor, and followed the leaking pipes toward the chapel once more. The air hummed with electricity and fear. Under the altar, the vent was empty, but the echo of dripping water remained. He pressed his ear to the floor. The sound came from beneath, hollow and vast. The river wasn't a metaphor. It was real, a hidden tunnel running beneath Graythorn. He pried open the slab with his bare hands until stone scraped bone. Then a hollow thud, a door. Inside, the tunnel was narrow, lit only by his trembling lighter flame. The air smelled of wet earth and decay. Every drop echoed like a heartbeat. Every step whispered the same question: what truth did Ava bury here? At the tunnel's end waited another box, smaller, sealed with wax. The initials AR pressed into the lid. Inside was a photograph of Ava and Elias, taken before everything fell apart. And beneath it, a note in her handwriting. "I couldn't save you. So I became your warden to protect what they couldn't destroy. If you're reading this, it means they found me first. My unspoken wish that you live free of their silence." He turned the note over. A key was taped to the back, the same type used for Graythorn's outer gate. A tremor shook the tunnel. Somewhere above, alarms began to wail. The water line rose fast, flooding from the broken pipes. Elias looked back once, clutching the leaf still pressed to the old paper. For years, he'd believed silence was safety. Now he understood silence was the prison itself. He climbed through the opening, storm water roaring behind him, and emerged near the outer wall, the same tree Ava used to sit beneath. Lightning revealed the gate's rusted lock. The key fit. He turned it. And as the sirens faded into rain, he whispered, "The prisoner's unspoken wish was never escape. It was truth." Days later, the storm cleared. Graythorn's records listed Elias Ward as missing, presumed drowned. But under the tree by the river, a leaf pressed flat against the mud, its veins shaped like a delta. Beside it, a folded note, written in Ava's old hand. Some wishes speak even through silence. The river carried the leaf downstream. The water shimmered once beneath the light, and for a fleeting moment the wind through the bars sounded like a voice finally set free.